The San Francisco Symphony performs Berlioz's bold and dramatic masterpiece, Symphonie Fantastique. Then, pianist Jean-Yves Thibaudet brings his unmistakable artistry to the spotlight for a performance of Saint-Saëns Piano Concerto No. 5. Experience it live at the San Francisco Symphony, March 26 through 28. Tickets at sfsymphony.org.
Head to Safeway this week and enjoy these amazing deals. Clip coupons from the weekly mailer or download them from the Safeway app to breeze through checkout. Tasty chicken wings, bone-in or boneless from the deli, selected varieties, just $6.99 per pound. USDA Choice boneless beef, chuck cross rib roast or bottom round roast mega packs, just $5.99 per pound. Delicious autumn crisp green or red seedless grapes, just $2.49 per pound. Visit Safeway.com for more details. See you in the aisles.
Howard was average. 34 years old and unremarkable in every way that could be measured without cutting him open. He was of average height, average build, average health. His hair was brown and thinning just enough to notice under direct light. His eyes were brown as well, the sort that never startled anyone. His face carried no defining marks, no history written on the skin. If someone passed him twice in the same day, they might not realize it. He lived alone in a one-bedroom apartment on the third floor of a complex built when people still believed neutral colors could prevent decay. The carpet had worn into narrow paths that mapped the movements with embarrassing accuracy. Bedroom to bathroom, bathroom to kitchen, kitchen to door. The walls were the color of old receipts. Through them he could hear the steady proof of other lives. Televisions, coughing. He liked knowing he wasn't the only one awake. Howard worked in data compliance for a regional insurance company, which meant correcting errors no one else noticed until they caused problems. His job was remote most days. His desk faced a blank wall so he wouldn't be distracted by the window and start thinking about what might be happening outside or inside. His supervisors described him as dependable. His coworkers described him as quiet. His health risk profile, accessible through the company portal, remained stubbornly low, a word he checked as if it might change when he wasn't looking. He did not consider himself ill. That mattered. Illness implied a conclusion. Howard believed in vigilance. He believed that the body was a machine that failed slowly and without apology, and that the only defense was attention. He kept notes on himself, lists of sensations, twinges, patterns. There was a folder on his phone titled Body, another titled Questions, and a third titled If They Find Something. The first full week of January was reserved. It had always been for the past 6 years. His annual checkups were scheduled with the precision of a ritual. Primary care on Monday, blood work Tuesday morning, dermatology Wednesday afternoon, dentist Thursday, specialists on Friday, depending on what came back borderline. He thought of it as starting the year clean, as resetting variables, as proving, conclusively, that nothing had been missed. On the morning of his first appointment, Howard woke before his alarm, already alert to himself. He lay still. The pressure in his chest, was it pressure or awareness? The dryness in his mouth, the dull ache behind his left eye that had been coming and going for weeks. Any of it could be normal. Any of it could be the beginning of something with a name. The ceiling fan hummed softly. The heater clicked on with metallic cough. Somewhere below him, water rushed through pipes, sudden and insistent, like circulation restarting. He sat up carefully, as if moving too quickly might dislodge something important. This was the week that everything would be checked. This was the week he would know. For all of Howard's vigilance, all his lists and appointments and rehearsed questions, the outcome had always been the same: healthy. The doctors smiled when they said it, some with patience, some with amusement. His charts came back clean, his numbers obediently centered in their ranges. Occasionally there was a note, monitor this, slightly elevated, worth keeping an eye on. but it always resolved by the following year, as if his body understood the importance of behaving when observed. Howard kept copies of his results in a folder at home, neatly labeled by year. He sometimes flipped through them the way other people looked at old photographs, reassured by the consistency. Proof that his fear was excessive. Proof that he had been wrong repeatedly and safely. This was the story his life had told so far. Anxiety without cause, concern without consequence. That was why the first abnormal result felt less like a discovery and more like betrayal. And this time, the results would not come back positive. Primary care. Howard's primary care office smelled the same as it always had. Antiseptic with an undertone of carpet cleaner and old paper. The familiarity steadied him. This was where reassurance lived. The receptionist recognized him immediately. She did not look at his name before smiling. Annual? She asked. Yes, Howard said, as if this was not obvious by the date alone. The waiting room television murmured about weather systems collapsing in other states. Howard sat in the same chair he always chose, second from the left, back against the wall, and reviewed his intake form even though he'd filled it out online the night before. No changes, no new medications, no smoking. Alcohol, socially, defined by Howard as once every 2 months, followed by mid-guilt. Family history unchanged, though his father had recently complained of joint stiffness, which Howard had made a note of, just in case it turned out to be hereditary in a way no one yet understood. A nurse called his name. She had called his name for years. Vitals first, blood pressure cuff tightened around his arm like an accusation. The numbers blinked onto the screen. Little elevated, she said without concern. Howard felt his heart accelerate in response, which did not help the reading. Height, weight, temperature, oxygen saturation, all within acceptable parameters. The nurse nodded, satisfied, and led him to exam room 3, where the paper on the table crinkled loudly under his careful movements. Dr. Klein entered a few minutes later, tablet in hand, glasses slipping slightly down his nose. He was a compact man in his 50s, with the permanent posture of someone leaning towards better lighting. "Well, Howard," he said, smiling. "Back again." Howard smiled too, a reflex. "New year." "Of course," Dr. Klein said. "How are we feeling?" "We?" Howard noted. Collaborative. Reassuring. "Fine," Howard said. Then, because he could never stop himself, "Generally." Dr. Klein listened to his heart first. The cold stethoscope made Howard flinch. "Deep breath," the doctor said. Howard inhaled too deeply, panicked that inadequate oxygenation might skew the results. "Again?" The doctor moved the stethoscope, listened, hummed softly, moved again. Howard watched the doctor's face with forensic attention. The eyebrows, the mouth, any micro-expression that might signal concern. Dr. Klein's face remained professionally neutral, which Howard knew could mean anything from perfectly healthy to terminal, but not my department. Lungs next, percussion along the spine, a flashlight in the eyes, reflex hammer tapping his knee. "Any dizziness?" Dr. Klein asked. "No," Howard said. The hammer tapped again. "Headaches?" "Occasionally," Howard said. "But not—" The hammer paused, just briefly. Dr. Klein frowned. "Not deeply, but enough." "How occasionally?" he asked. Howard's mouth went dry. I track them. Frequency is consistent. No aura. No photophobia. Usually unilateral, left side, dull ache." Dr. Klein nodded slowly, made a note. The examination continued. Abdomen, palpitation, pressure here, any pain there. Howard answered carefully, terrified that honesty might incriminate him. Then Dr. Klein paused. He looked at the tablet, then at Howard, then back to the tablet. It was a small sound, barely a sound at all. Howard's stomach dropped. Dr. Klein pressed his fingers lightly just below Howard's ribcage again. "Do you feel that?" "Yes," Howard said immediately. I mean, pressure. Normal pressure. Dr. Klein didn't respond. He palpitated once more, then straightened, his expression thoughtful in a way Howard had never seen before. Not concerned, not calm. There's something a little unusual here, Dr. Klein said. The room tilted. Unusual how? Howard asked, his voice too fast, too loud. Like variation of normal unusual, or statistically significant unusual, or... I can't say yet, Dr. Klein interrupted gently. It's subtle. Howard laughed. He hadn't planned to. It came out thin and sharp. Subtle is fine, he said. Subtle's good. Dr. Klein did not laugh. There's a deviation, he said, instead. Nothing definitive, just an inconsistency. Howard's heart was now beating so hard he was certain it would become the next inconsistency. In what? Howard asked. Dr. Klein hesitated, just long enough. In presentation, he said. Your baseline has been very stable over the years. This feels different. Different. Howard imagined his charts laid out in rows, numbers suddenly misaligned, cells highlighted in yellow. So what does that mean? He asked. It means I want to consult, Dr. Klein said. Get another set of eyes, possibly run additional imaging, dependent. Imaging, Howard repeated faintly. Precautionary, Dr. Klein added quickly. I want to be clear, this is not a diagnosis, it's an observation. Howard nodded. He nodded too much. Okay, he said. Observations are good. Observations lead to clarity. Dr. Klein smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Exactly, Dr. Klein said. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Howard was already far ahead of himself, mentally drafting worst-case scenarios, acronyms blooming like mold. As Dr. Klein left the room to make notes and referrals, Howard sat alone on the exam table, paper crinkling beneath him, hand pressed unconsciously to the place the doctor had touched. For years, his body had behaved. For years, nothing had ever been wrong. And now, finally, something was. They just didn't know what it was yet.
Head to Safeway this week and enjoy these amazing deals. Clip coupons from the weekly mailer or download them from the Safeway app to breeze through checkout. Tasty chicken wings, bone-in or boneless from the deli, selected varieties, just $6.99 per pound. USDA Choice Boneless Beef Chuck Cross Rib Roast or Bottom Round Roast Mega Packs, just $5.99 per pound. Delicious Autumn Crisp Green or Red Seedless Grapes, just $2.49 per pound. Visit Safeway.com for more details. See you in the aisles.
Life can feel overwhelming, but you don't have to go through it alone. On my podcast, From the Heart with Rachel Braithen, I share openly and vulnerably about everything life brings us and what we can learn by living with our hearts a little bit more open. Every Friday, a new episode brings you a new story with topics on self-care, motherhood, healing, and more. You are enough, just the way you are. And this podcast is a reminder of that. Follow and listen to From the Heart with Rachel Braithen wherever you get your podcasts.
Blood work. The laboratory was in the same medical plaza as Dr. Klein's office, which Howard appreciated. Containment mattered. He liked it when his problem stayed local. The sign at the entrance read Diagnostic Services in a font that suggested authority without warmth. Inside, the air was colder than necessary, as if refrigeration were part of the diagnostic process. Howard checked in at the kiosk using his date of birth, then again with his insurance card. Then again verbally, just in case redundancy prevented error. He had been fasting since 8 o'clock the night before. Water only, no coffee, no gum, no accidental toothpaste ingestion. Hunger, he had read, could alter glucose levels. Anxiety could alter cortisol. Breathing incorrectly could probably alter something. A nurse called his name. She wore purple gloves and a smile so practiced it bordered on clinical detachment. Any trouble with blood draws? She asked. No, Howard said. I hydrate. She nodded approvingly. The chair reclined. His arm rested on the pad. The tourniquet tightened, making his veins stand up obediently. The nurse swabbed the crook of his elbow with alcohol, the smell sharp and medicinal, and tapped once, twice. Good vein, she said. Howard felt absurdly proud. The needle went in smoothly. He turned his head anyway, eyes fixed on a poster explaining cholesterol in a friendly blue and green. Vial after vial filled with his blood, red darkening to nearly black in the absence of air. CBC, CMP, lipid panel, thyroid, vitamin D, inflammatory markers. A few extras Dr. Klein had ordered after their conversation, just to be thorough. How many is that? Howard asked. 8, she said. Maybe 9. His stomach tightened. 9 is more than usual. She shrugged. Doctors like data. The last vial filled. The needle came out. Cotton, tape, done. Results should be up in the portal in a day or two, she said. Howard nodded, already imagining the refresh cycle. He did not make it home before the first notification appeared. New lab results available. His pulse spiked. He stopped walking and leaned against the building, heart pounding, phone slick in his hand. He told himself to wait, to open it somewhere safe, somewhere seated. He opened it anyway. The screen filled with tables, numbers, reference ranges. Most of them were fine, comforting, boring. Sodium, potassium, all behaving. Then he saw the flags. One yellow, then another, then a red. Howard's breath became shallow. WBC, elevated. Neutrophils, elevated. Lymphocytes, borderline low. Possible infection? The note suggested. Howard's mind sprinted. He did not feel sick. No fever, no cough, no fatigue beyond his usual hypervigilant exhaustion. Then another line. ESR elevated. CRP elevated. Non-specific inflammatory markers? The footnote read. Non-specific again. The word was everywhere now. He scrolled further. ALT, slightly elevated. AST, normal. Liver involvement? Or muscle breakdown? Or lab error? He refreshed the page as if the numbers might apologize and correct themselves. A message notification appeared. Dr. Klein has sent you a message. Howard's hands trembled as he opened it. Hi, Howard. I've reviewed your labs. Most values are within normal limits, but there are a few abnormalities I'd like to discuss. Nothing emergent. I'd recommend follow-up testing and possible consultation with hematology to rule out any underlying process. We'll talk soon. Underlying process? Howard laughed out loud, alone on the sidewalk. People passed him without looking. Underlying what? He opened a new tab and began searching acronyms, scrolling through forums and studies, each explanation branching into worse possibilities. Autoimmune disorders, malignancies, rare syndromes with names longer than lifespans. He checked the timestamps. The samples had been processed correctly. No clerical error. He thought of the vials lined up on the counter, each holding a piece of him that had misbehaved in isolation. By the time he reached his apartment, he was convinced his blood had been trying to tell someone something for years, and this was simply the first time anyone had listened. By nightfall, his phone chimed again. A new order had been placed. More blood. Howard stared at the notification, feeling something shift inside of him. Not pain, not yet, but certainty. Whatever was wrong with him was multiplying. Dermatologist. Howard had always liked dermatology. Skin was visible. It could be photographed, measured, circled with a pen. Problems announced themselves in color and texture. There was very little mystery involved, which was comforting to Howard. The dermatology office was brighter than the others, aggressively so. White walls, white floors, white furniture. Even the magazines seemed bleached to personality. Howard filled out the intake form, checking no changes under medications, then hesitated before adding a note about recent abnormal labs. PCP aware, in parentheses. The medical assistant called his name and led him to a room where the lights were unflatteringly intense. Go on, open in the back, she said, handing him a thin blue sheet of fabric that felt more symbolic than functional. Howard changed carefully, folding his clothes and placing them on the chair with ritual precision. He sat on the exam table, paper crackling, exposed in ways that felt new and unpleasant. Dr. Morales entered with a tablet and cheerful efficiency that Howard instantly distrusted. Annual full body? She asked. Yes, Howard said. Every year. No history of melanoma, no tanning beds, SPF daily, reapply every 2 hours if exposed. Dr. Morales smiled. You'd be surprised how many people lie about that. Howard did not smile back. I don't lie. She began the exam methodically. Scalp first, she parted his hair with gloved fingers, examining his skin as if reading something written too small to see all at once. Any new or changing moles? She asked. No, Howard said. Then, after a pause, I've been checking. Of course you have, she said pleasantly. She moved to his face, his ears, his neck. She used the dermatoscope, its light, harsh, and invasive. Howard tried to breathe evenly, acutely aware of every pore, every follicle. Arms next, chest, back. Have you always had this? She asked suddenly. Howard's stomach tightened. Had what? She angled the light. This area, she said, gesturing to the skin along his left flank. The pigmentation. Howard craned his neck uselessly. Maybe? I mean, I have freckles. I burn easily. I could have missed. Dr. Morales hummed softly, the same way Dr. Klein had. There it was, again. She adjusted the light, touched the skin gently with a gloved finger. It's not a lesion, she said. Not exactly. Not exactly what? Howard asked. The doctor leaned back slightly, studying him now instead of his skin. It's diffuse, she said. Subtle. The texture is normal, no elevation, no asymmetry in the ABCDE sense. Howard exhaled, relief surging. But, she continued, the distribution is odd. Odd. Howard laughed weakly. Odd how? It's almost patterned, she said. Not in a way I recognize. She stepped away and typed on her tablet. Howard sat very still, afraid movement might distort whatever she was seeing. Have you noticed any itching? She asked. No. Pain? No. Changes in sensation, numbness, tingling. Howard hesitated. He thought of his arm falling asleep too quickly sometimes, of the way his skin occasionally felt too tight. No, he said. Dr. Morales nodded, but did not look convinced. She continued the exam, but her thoroughness had changed. She lingered longer, returned to the same areas twice, checked his back again, then his legs again. Finally, she snapped off her gloves. I don't see anything immediately concerning, she said. Howard sagged with relief. But, she added, of course there was a but. There are some irregularities in pigmentation and vascular response, she said. Nothing diagnostic, just not typical. Howard swallowed. Not typical of what? Of you, she said. The phrase landed heavier than he expected. She turned the tablet toward him. The screen showed magnified images of his skin, colors exaggerated, purples and reds blooming beneath the surface like bruises he didn't remember earning. Your capillary refill time is slightly delayed in some areas, she said. And there's this modeling. Levita-like, but incomplete. Howard stared at the image. It did not look like skin. It looked like weather. So what does that mean? He asked. Dr. Morales pursed her lips. On its own, she said. Probably nothing. In context? In context of what? His voice climbing. She glanced at his chart. In context of systemic abnormalities, she said carefully. I'd like to coordinate with your primary care physician. Possibly rheumatology. Maybe hematology, depending on what they find. Howard laughed again, sharp and involuntary. My skin is referring me to other doctors, he said. Dr. Morales smiled thinly. Think of it as your body being communicative. Howard did not like that idea at all. As he dressed, he stared at his own skin in the mirror, at the pale, ordinary surface he had trusted for decades. He pressed his fingers into his side and watched the color drain, then slowly, reluctantly return. Too slowly. By the time he left the office, his phone buzzed with another notification, another referral, another specialty. Howard pulled his coat tighter around himself, suddenly convinced that whatever was wrong with him was no longer staying inside. It was learning how to show itself.
Head to Safeway this week and enjoy these amazing deals. Clip coupons from the weekly mailer or download them from the Safeway app to breeze through checkout. Tasty chicken wings, bone-in or boneless from the deli, selected varieties, just $6.99 per pound. USDA Choice Boneless Beef Chuck Cross Rib Roast or Bottom Round Roast Mega Packs, just $5.99 per pound. Delicious Autumn Crisp Green or Red Seedless Grapes, just $2.49 per pound. Visit Safeway.com for more details. See you in the aisles.
Hey there, I'm Kendra Adachi, and my show, The Lazy Genius Podcast, helps you be a genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't, and you get to decide what matters. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to give you a new way to see. Episodes of the Lazy Genius Podcast are full of compassionate time management tips and permission slips to do what makes sense for you. New episodes drop every Monday. Follow and listen to the Lazy Genius Podcast on the free Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Dentist. Howard had always considered teeth reliable. They erupted on schedule, decayed predictably, responded well to maintenance, brushed twice daily, flossed nightly, fluoride rinse, 6-month cleanings. There was comfort in enamel, hard, visible, measurable. Howard arrived 10 minutes early and sat perfectly still in the waiting room, hands folded into his lap, jaw clenched in a way he immediately worried might be contributing to dysfunction. The hygienist called his name. She wore a cartoon patterned mask meant to be reassuring. It was not. "Any changes since your last visit?" she asked as she reclined the chair. Howard opened his mouth, then closed it. "Medically?" he asked. She paused. "In general." "Yes," Howard said, "but nothing dental." She nodded, uncertain what to do with that, and began the cleaning. The ultrasonic scaler whined against his teeth, vibrating through his skull. Water pooled in his mouth. He focused on breathing through his nose, acutely aware of his pulse and his gums. "Bleeding a bit more than usual," she said casually. Howard's eyes flew open. "More?" he said, garbled around the suction. "Just mild inflammation," she said. "Probably stress." Stress. The universal solvent. She probed his gums, calling out numbers. 3s, mostly 3s. 4. Howard cataloged each one. "Have you noticed any soreness?" she asked. "No," he said, then reconsidered. "Occasionally?" She made a note. X-rays came next. The bite wing felt too big, pressing into his jaw uncomfortably. He worried briefly about microfractures. The images appeared on the screen. His teeth looked like something unearthed. Roots exposed, shadows deep and cavernous. Dr. Patel entered, cheerful and efficient. "Howard, still taking good care of these?" Howard nodded. "Very good care, Doctor." Dr. Patel scrolled through the images, nodding along. "Overall, things look solid." Relief washed over Howard so fast it made him dizzy. Then Dr. Patel stopped scrolling. He leaned closer to the screen. "Huh." Howard's hands clenched into fists. "Huh?" Howard asked. Dr. Patel zoomed in on one image, then another. "This is interesting." Howard did not find it interesting at all. "There's some irregularity in the bone density here," Dr. Patel said, pointing near the lower molars. "You see this, Howard?" Howard squinted. He saw darkness where he thought there should be light. "That's bad?" Howard asked. "Not necessarily," Dr. Patel said. "It's subtle. Could be artifact, could be variation." Howard exhaled shakily. "But," Dr. Patel continued, "given the pattern," the word pattern, made Howard's stomach drop. It's not consistent with local periodontal disease, Dr. Patel said. It's more diffuse. Diffuse. Again, that word. Howard laughed, a short bark of a sound. My teeth are systemically compromised, Howard said. Dr. Patel smiled politely. I wouldn't put it that way. But you're thinking it, Howard blurted. Dr. Patel paused, then chose his words carefully. I'm thinking this might not be originating in your mouth. Howard stared at him. My teeth are innocent, Howard said firmly. Dr. Patel removed his gloves. I'd like to share these images with your primary care physician. Possibly get a consult if needed. For what? Howard asked. Dr. Patel hesitated. To rule out anything metabolic or hematologic. Of course. As Howard sat up, his jaw aching, he ran his tongue over his teeth, suddenly aware of each one as an individual structure, rooted in bone that might be thinning, eroding, failing quietly beneath the surface. At the front desk, he scheduled his next cleaning out of habit, then wondered again if he would still have teeth by then. Outside, the winter air burned his lungs. His phone buzzed again, another message, another doctor CC'd. Howard did not open it. For the first time in his life, he was afraid to look inside his own mouth, and worse, afraid of what else might be loosening. The train jolted forward, and Howard's legs gave out. He sank into an empty seat as the car filled around him, bodies closing in, coats brushing his knees. His chest seized, not sharply, but with a suffocating insistence, as though his heart had begun working against a set of rules he no longer understood. This was it. This was the one that mattered. His pulse skittered wildly, too fast to count, too loud to ignore. Each beat felt misplaced, arriving either too late or too early. Like a signal misfiring, his left arm tingled, then went oddly distant as if it belonged to someone else. Howard slumped forward, elbows on his thighs, head hanging between his knees the way pamphlets suggested. It did nothing. I'm having a heart attack, he said aloud, surprised by how calm the word sounded. Someone cursed, someone else moved. A voice asked if he was okay, already knowing the answer. The air felt thick, his vision narrowed. The fluorescent lights above him smeared into pale bands, then cold water hit his face. He gasped, jerking upright as it splashed down onto his chin and onto his coat. A stranger stood over him with an open bottle, eyes wide and uncertain. Hey, the man said. Hey, you with us? Howard blinked. His heart was still racing, but it had found a rhythm again, ugly, insistent, but functional. The pressure in his head loosened, retreating like something that had been interrupted mid-act. Yes, Howard said, as a question. I think I'm fine. A woman pressed tissues into his hand. Another person muttered something about panic attacks. The circle dissolved quickly once the emergency lost its shape. People looked away. The train kept moving. Howard sat there, soaked, humiliated, but alive. No one apologized. No one stayed. At his stop, he stood on unsteady legs and stepped onto the platform, water dripping from his coat onto the concrete. He wiped his face and checked his pulse one last time, needing the confirmation even now. It was still there, his pulse. He knew what this meant for tomorrow.
At the San Francisco Symphony, we make music to inspire, to celebrate, to feel the room come alive and listen closely together. For wonder and discovery, for remembering where we've been and imagining what comes next, for staying connected, and for joy. We make music for you. The San Francisco Symphony.
Head to Safeway this week and enjoy these amazing deals. Clip coupons from the weekly mailer or download them from the Safeway app to breeze through checkout. Tasty chicken wings, bone-in or boneless from the deli, selected varieties, just $6.99 per pound. USDA Choice boneless beef, chuck cross rib roast or bottom round roast mega packs, just $5.99 per pound. Delicious autumn crisp green or red seedless grapes, just $2.49 per pound. Visit Safeway.com for more details. See you in the aisles.